Big 12 Conference and Commissioner Bob Bowlesby embarked on a mission to address the issues facing college athletics. The State of College Athletics Forum here in New York City is the first in a series of forums dedicated to bringing together the brightest minds in sports and discussing the current state of college athletics. Among others, the topics include the economics of college sports, will reform work and why has it taken so long, and should student athletes be paid? We spoke to some of the panelists after the forum. What made you say yes to being the moderator for this kind of forum?
Well, I thought, Kristen, that it was just a fascinating topic, and as those who watch would probably acknowledge, we probably could have used another 5 or 6 hours. We didn't even scratch the surface of some of these things. We probably could have just taken 1 or 2 topics and spent time on that. And the other thing was the people who were involved, the unique perspectives that they provided. I just thought it was a great opportunity to talk about some things that we don't talk about enough.
There was a really lively debate. It began right at the very beginning. So it was a great town hall meeting. You wanted a variety of views, and we had them.
Expand on how you think athletics are the front door to a university.
Yes, we call it the front porch because when you're going by the university, that's what you see. And so it's the most visible part. It's a unifying part because regardless of what school or what your major was, school within or a college within the university, you can talk about sports. And of course, that this time of year is football. But people love all sports, and it's a unifying dimension. So that gives you common ground.
What were some of the most pressing issues addressed today in college athletics?
I don't think there's any question that the big issue right now is the Big 5 conferences and the FBS being very selfish about keeping the football national championship money and trying to convince the public that somehow this is good because they're going to be able to provide cost of education and better benefits for their basketball and football players.
But I thought that the very last thing that we talked about was probably created the best spark, the most important and significant spark, which was the whole issue of women and their treatment on college campuses. It's part of a greater societal issue that needs to be addressed, but certainly in the athletic communities and colleges, there's certainly enough, examples of where, they could do better.
I would love to see us talk more, though, about student-athlete welfare. I was pleased that there wasn't an enormous groundswell of opinion, given my own views, given the views of the university, that students should become employees, that our football players and basketball players should be paid. I think that's a terrible step in the wrong direction. But what can we do that we're not doing to promote student-athlete welfare? And that we could spend much more time on.
Well, I think there's plenty of misperceptions out there, particularly about the services we provide for our student athletes, particularly a place like the University of Texas, the amount of resources we put behind helping our student athletes graduate, our graduation rates that are much higher for the most part amongst student athletes across the board than they are amongst regular student populations at most universities. The medical benefits we provide, the fact that UT, if you leave and you're a student athlete, say you're a baseball player and you go up to your junior year, we pay for you to come back and finish up. So I think there's a lot of misperceptions out there that hopefully we were able to throw a little light on some of them today.
Whenever it all shakes out, you're going to see a significantly different college athletic structure than you see now.
Tell me, what will that structure look like? How can college athletics change?
Well, as I think I said at the conclusion of the panel, I think there needs to be a more equitable financial and welfare system for the labor pool that produces all the wealth for college sports. That is primarily football and secondarily basketball players at major schools. I think the system as it is right now is unfair, bordering on immoral. There's just too much money in college sports right now for the old system of how college athletes are treated and taken care of to continue to exist.
Well, I hope that we can preserve the college system as it is right now, because I think if we can't, it's going to be bad for the country as a whole. It's going to be bad for the Olympic movement. It's going to be bad because right now you look at opportunities to get a college education, opportunities to get a scholarship. Outside of the GI Bill, student athlete scholarships are the next largest source of college scholarships in the United States. And so because we goose up the costs on football players and basketball players, we have to wind up cutting other sports and cutting other scholarships. I think that'd be a tragedy for everybody.
The decisions that we need to make are driven with the hope that we can maintain as much of the things that are good about the collegiate model as we can. And we're facing very significant challenges to that model that are outside the athletic space. There are legal challenges and antitrust challenges and all those types of things. And so for us to preserve the whole entity, we've got to make some reform steps, and hopefully this autonomy structure will give us the ability to better do that.
What do you think it says about the Big 12 Conference for taking the first step in hosting this forum?
I think it shows that the Big 12 recognizes, and perhaps is a pioneer in the recognition, that college athletics is such an important issue that we in the system need to be talking about and inviting critics to the conversation, and we will learn from those critics. So I think it's great leadership on the part of the commissioner and on the part of the staff to say, let's go to the Big Apple, let's have a lively conversation, and it's not going to be anything other than a high contact sport right from the very get-go, and that's what we had today.
This is only step one in the first of several forums hosted by the Big 12. Future forums will delve farther into the issues presented today, as well as addressing new issues. I've been told the next forum will be held in Washington. A date has not been set, but the Big 12 will keep you posted, and we'll have the inside access. From the Big Apple, Kristen Keith, Big 12 Digital Network.